want to thank the Senator and his staff for putting together this report and putting a little sunshine on an issue that has been concerning for not just for me and my colleagues in the veterans community for some time. You know, we keep tossing around that number $32 billion, and it's striking. You know, we're putting $32 billion of your tax dollars into education, and generally that's a good investment. We like investing in the public good. We like building infrastructure so that people can travel around and businesses can conduct business all across the country. We like investing in our military and police and fire so that we can all be safe at night. And we like investing in education in this country because it creates an educated and technically proficient workforce. And we did that after World War II with the first GI Bill. And no other place is investing public money more successful than when you invest in education. The original GI Bill returned $7 for every dollar spent. But even back then, there were predatory actors in the for-profit sector that were more interested in turning a quick buck off veterans benefits than actually educating their veterans. And guess what? Congress actually stepped in and fixed the problem. And it was so successful that when the government chose to reinvest in financial aid and the same thing happened, Congress then stepped in again and changed the regulations to say, look, you can make money if you're investing in your students, but you have to have a product that is just good enough so that 10% of your customers want to buy it. If you told any businessman in this country that your business model consists of only 10% of your customers have to spend your own money, they would freak out. They would think that's the best deal in the world. If I wanted to be a millionaire tomorrow, I'd start a for-profit school because it is the best deal. And even after all of the problems that we have seen through Senator Harkin's report, through Senator Nunn's report, through the reports going back to World War II, we still think that there's value in the for-profit school industry. And you know what? I agree. I think there is a lot of value. I think there are excellent schools out there like the Universal Technical Institute, one of the most expensive schools in the country, but guess what? Graduates almost all of its students and puts them almost all in jobs. And that's money well spent. That's worth investing. But the problem is that even after all the abuses that we're seeing rampant in the industry because the profit motive is so high, all we're asking for is just a little bit of fairness. I mean, call me crazy, but you shouldn't be able to use government money for marketing, recruiting, and lobbying. And the GI Bill money they can use for lobbying. I know this because $3 million, most of it coming from federal tax dollars, are going right back into campaign coffers in this cycle alone. All we're asking for is that the GI Bill is correctly considered government funds. Right now, because of a loophole in the law, the GI Bill is considered part of that private money that you can use to pay for college. All we're asking for is a little transparency and a little consumer education, and I want to thank Congressman Borakis and Senator Murray and Chairman Miller and Senator Webb for putting forward legislation that looks like it's going to pass this year. You know, earlier, a couple weeks ago, I was asked by a senator in an open hearing about why we should regulate for-profit schools, and he made this comparison to for-profit hospitals. He said, well, should we regulate for-profit hospitals because we put a lot of public money into them? And I thought it was a little strange because it seems like kind of a weird thing to ask, because I think he was just trying to throw me off balance. It didn't particularly work, but it was a good try. But I actually started thinking about it. And when I think about it, if we applied the same success rate to the hospitals that we're applying to the for-profit schools, you know what? We wouldn't be asking for regulations because we'd be putting people in jail. People would be on death row if hospitals killed 50 to 70% of their patients. That's what we're talking about. We're not saying that we shouldn't invest in for-profit education. I think we should. But I think we have to make sure that we have at least return on investment. Because when we invest in students, when we invest in veterans, you get an extremely high return. But because of these loopholes in federal relations, for-profit schools aggressively target veterans. Why? Because of that 90-10 loophole. For every veteran a for-profit school recruits, that's 9 more people on federal financial aid, equaling nearly $125,000 in additional revenue in their pocket for every veteran. I'm just asking for a little bit of what's fair. And ultimately what this is about is protecting the GI Bill. Historically, the GI Bill has been one of the greatest investments that we have ever made in this country. But when a third of the GI Bill, over a third, is going to a sector that is producing less than 20% of the graduates, to a sector in total 13% of the population accounting for 50% of student loan defaults, that's not a good return on investment. And so what we need to do is make sure that those in the sector that are doing well, that are putting that money into education, that are providing graduates, they need to thrive. And those who are abusing the GI Bill and abusing the men and women who have sacrificed for this country, they need to clean up their act, or they just need to go away. So I want to thank Senator Harkin and his staff and everyone behind me for all their great work. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.